So I'm gonna hand over to the next speaker, who is Bianca Mugyenyi, who is the co-founder and former director of the Canadian Foreign Policy Institute and the former co-executive director and co-founder of climate justice organization, The Deep. Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mikaela. Thank you to No Cold War for organizing this very important, timely discussion. I am here representing Canada China Focus and the Canadian Foreign Policy Institute. And it's been such a pleasure to be here and to feel like there are such adults in the room and to hear such powerful, inspiring, visionary panelists, And so I've enjoyed your terrific presentations. But the analysis is sobering. I'm going to give a Canadian spin on all of this, a north of the border spin, and I'll begin like others have in saying that it's not easy to predict exactly how Trump's election will shape our foreign and military policy. But we all know, however, that there tends to be more continuity than change in US and Canadian foreign policy. For our part, Canada's foreign policy is overwhelmingly driven by support for corporate interests, like our massive mining sector, and support for empire, historically British and now American. And while it's early days still, we can certainly draw lessons from the shifts that we saw during Trump's first presidency. So I'm going to take a similar tack to some of the other presenters. So back in 2017, when Trump took office, Justin Trudeau responded by appointing Chrystia Freeland as foreign minister. And this didn't go unnoticed. The US Embassy in Ottawa even declared, quote unquote, Canada adopts America first foreign policy. So this was a really quick recalibration to align with Trump's agenda. And nowhere was Canada's America First foreign policy more clear than its actions against Venezuela. So under Chrystia Freeland's leadership, Ottawa led efforts to overthrow the Venezuelan government. They set up the Lima Group. In 2017, they brought Venezuela to the ICC, coordinated support for little-known politician Juan Guaido as president. People have been talking about Marco Rubio here. We know that he was an architect of Trump's brutal maximum pressure on Venezuela policies. And he's now Trump's pick for Secretary of State. So, there's that. And in Canada, Chrystia Freeland has been appointed to lead a revived special U.S. Relations Cabinet Committee to manage relations with Trump. So, not great. Trump's return, and again, some of this is just repeating what others have said, but trying to give it the Canadian spin, is that, there will likely be increased tensions with China, as has been mentioned. In his first term, this was translated into economic warfare and the weaponization of trade. Canada was pressurized to follow suit. Most notably, I don't know if people follow the 2018 arrest of Huawei executive Meng Wanzhou. And more recently in Canada, we're seeing just like extreme rhetoric and hyped protectionist policies. And a couple of months ago, the Canadian government imposed a 100% tariff on Chinese electric vehicles. And after this happened, our major paper of record, the Globe and Mail, noted that Ottawa's use of unilateral tools to implement 100% tariffs on EVs is a hallmark of a trade war. Additionally, our Canada's 2-year-old Indo-Pacific strategy, renamed, further oriented Canada towards aligning our military with the US containment policy. And this strategy has committed Canada to further militarizing its approach to China, including things like sending more vessels to the Taiwan Strait and south of China, South China Sea. And, this is a place where military tensions are already seriously threatening global peace. In Israel, Trump's administration was clearly a gift to Benjamin Netanyahu. His uncritical support emboldened further dispossession, violence against Palestinians, and now with Trump back in power, we see the possibility of US war with Iran. Canada, meanwhile, has enabled Israel's genocide and warfare in the region through shielding it from accountability and arming its military through multi-million-dollar deals. I was really pleased to hear folks talking about Haiti on today's call. Turning to Haiti, Trump may be overtly racist, and he is. They're eating the pets and shithole countries remarks are burned into memory. But Biden's policies and Trudeau's policies are actually no less harmful and no less racist, maybe with a bit of a mask on. But Canada plays a central role in the so-called core group of foreign ambassadors, which wield immense influence and control and power over Haiti's affairs, sidelining Haitian sovereignty. And under Trump, I think we can expect the US to continue its exploitative policies in Haiti. Regarding Ukraine, we've heard some pretty strong, really strong, sobering analysis on today's call. We're at a really critical and frightening point in history. Canada is particularly hawkish on Ukraine, and clearly fears Trump deprioritizing the conflict. They've provided billions in arms, $10 billion in other assistance to Ukraine. They supported the 2014 coup against 𝐜𝐚𝐦𝐻𝐿. They backed NATO's eastward expansion. They've no doubt escalated tensions. Moving on to NATO, the summit was recently here in the city that I live, Montreal. And at that summit, the Liberals committed to doubling military spending to meet NATO's 2% GDP target by 2032, an additional $41 billion annually, which doubles the current spending. And Ukraine has been the rationale for this spending, but militarists are now using Trump. They're using Trump as an excuse and saying, we have to follow Trump or we're going to face the consequences. So that's the new argument. Just the day before yesterday, Republican Congressman Mike Turner actually scolded Canada in Politico for not putting enough resources into war, effectively demanding that our social needs be sacrificed for NATO's conflicts. Look, in terms of militarism, the Canadian military and its spending really serves the US empire in two major ways. They're essentially an extension of the US military. And also our arms industry is dominated by US giants like Lockheed, like General Dynamics, which profit massively from war, while just pouring Canadian resources into American corporations. So, I'm just gonna conclude by talking about the fact that with a world on fire, with overlapping multiple crises, with people struggling so much on so many fronts, it is reckless, it is outrageous to hand billions and billions more over to the war machine. And I just want to invite our audience to imagine redirecting these resources to clean energy development, to global climate action, to the terrible housing crisis that we're seeing, new housing, poverty reduction, to high-speed rail, the arts, healthcare, clean water and reserves, you name it. And instead, Canada and the US choose to escalate conflict and undermine the very international solidarity that we need so desperately to both face and overcome today's crisis. So, I really want to echo what Claudia said about, we need internationalism, we need solidarity. And we need to remember that these endless wars, these skyrocketing military budgets are not inevitable. They're not inevitable. And the stakes are so high. We need a new vision. And that's what the folks here on this call are bringing. Our movements need to rise to the occasion and demand what we have been talking about here today: foreign policies rooted in solidarity and internationalism, diplomacy, peace, justice, and care for the earth. Thank you.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Bianca. Honestly, fabulous, amazing. Particularly because, as you already said and shared, that there are countries like Canada who don't see themselves as part of the core of this kind of international onslaught against the global south. And it's important to know that there are people like you who are fighting against it. So I'm gonna give it over to Charles, who is a writer and organizer for the 𝐬𝐴 Collective, a group of dedicated people who are trying to bring critical perspectives around US-China relations, and you raised China yourself. And so, Charles, I hope you can share a little bit about what this means in terms of the bigger global perspective and how China, Russia, others are the target of the US empire in this moment when we do need peace. We need to invest, as Bianca said, in social services, and the disproportionate amount of investment in war won't serve us, won't serve anyone.